But for tonight, let's go to the police department. And first of all, I want to thank the police department for doing such a great job doing Hurricane Irma. And it was a big effort between the chain of command from the EOC department all the way to the street, where we have seen officers working almost all day, make sure our streets are safe, and especially with the traffic and everything. And I think it was because the type of harmony in the police department and the effort of everyone. And last year, from what I understand, and between last year and this year, I realized that you have a police chief and you have one assistant chief of police. I don't know if it's because of funding or for whatever the reason is. And tonight I would like to ask the city manager if you can, there is room in the budget to fund another assistant chief of police, to find a way to do that in the budgets, and so next week we can vote on it.
I'll look into the matter, and I know you brought it up earlier in our discussion, so, and see what, if we can accomplish that goal for you, sir.
Thank you
by
very
the
much.
next meeting.
Thank you.
All right, Councilman DeSome, floor is yours.
Was that it? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was
Next
not-
week.
Yeah, oh, you racking it up for next week, okay. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I do have a couple of items I would like to discuss. So let's do pages. I think that might be. Overall, Mr. Manager, you guys did a, don't go on your page, okay. You guys did a good job with the budget. However, when we met, I expressed my little reservation regarding, I think we needs to be a little bit more citizen focused. I don't mind employees getting what they deserve. I do think that we need to pay them what they do, but by saying that, I went on the radio last week and we had a very heated discussion, and I did say when it comes to residents, they are first, they are my priority. So with saying that, moving on to that, by next year, I really want you guys to focus on services to the residents, because I do think Councilwoman was mentioning about the turkey. That's one thing we give to the residents versus a $166 million budget. Even if you're looking at the general fund, which is $70 million, I don't think 3% goes out to events and things that really touch the community. I'm not a big fan of certain events, but I honestly think that we need to think about the folks that we represent, the street pavement that needs to be done. Looking at the 1%, I am not too pleased, and I'll go a little bit into detail, but page 36. Page 36, I did address with you while I met with Terry on page 36 regarding our wonderful program, which is Sister City. We did add another city. I just want you guys to be aware if that could be addressed, Mr. Manager, with Sister City.
Yes, sir. Remember, we did have that conversation. I know we didn't modify the book.
Okay,
But I know
so
we need to change
but in the
the-
memo,
yeah.
gotcha. Page 190. Page 190, which is part of what Councilwoman Keys was mentioning, which is the senior program. I would like for that, although it's under CPND, I don't think it needs to be there, just like we have code enforcement separate. It needs to be social service totally separate, because it was so confusing while I was rushing to go through the booklet to find out the exact back and forth from personnel. And Terry and I, we had that particular discussion. So with page 190, part of that is social service. However, under, is it page 4, something where the supplemental 4, for it, that address part of social service, Terry? Which page is that? That address the actual, well, let's look at 490 and then that's the confusion I was talking about. There's some on 490 and there's some under hottest hit. What's the SHIP program? Okay, what page is there?
Page 190, that's the housing services.
Gotcha.
The social services, which was in Parks Department,
Got it.
and senior program, we moved it to CP&D. So to make it less confusing,
And it's more.
the
Mike, they can't hear you.
the transition from the senior program, moving it from Parks to CP&D, we left the old title on the page, so I'm going to retitle the page.
Yes, that's on page 398. We'll get to that.
Page 190.
Just for the record, and I know Councilwoman Keys mentioned, would we have enough for senior program field trips and the meals? And this is what we talk about when we talk about giving back to, I don't really care, and I told the manager that when we get into the budget discussion about people's salary, unless I see something that's really ridiculous and I ask about that. But when it comes to the residents, I need to make sure that they are well addressed, because I don't want, if I call about, well, do we have enough money to buy the 100 seniors that are coming breakfast, and I'm hearing, it has to stop, because I don't talk about people's salary, then y'all should not be mentioning the residents when it's something referred to them. So can we do something to make sure, because we're addressing two programs, the 25,000 for the supply, and then you have the transfer from the 430 to that. If we could look at that, increasing it, that would be very, very helpful. On page 398, which kind of part of the senior program, I guess. So your correction from housing manager will be changed to the community something manager on page 390 on 4.1.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It is, the title will change.
Got it.
We will have I believe that's gonna be the title, but we will have that hammered down by the next budget hearing.
Also, just to be clear, because but the code will still remain. I don't want it so the code will be your schedule, your 36 from there when you do change it, correct? For whatever, okay, that they have from there. Just want to be on the record. Okay, page 234. Parks and Rec. Okay, we got some concerns. Yes, sir. My main concern, and not really concerned, I will, and I haven't seen this in 2 years I'm on here, and this is the last year that this does not address, so I would like for it to be addressed, yes, sir, 234, for you guys to address it next year. I'm not saying, and I'm a little pissed off. I grew up in this city. I used to work for Parks and Rec. I need the focus to be more on community, on recreation and parks. I applaud the manager and administration for moving some of the stuff to public work, which is good, but recreation, we need to be stronger. And I know there's two positions, and I always say this is not fault to the department. We used to have superintendents, because you and I, we used to work for them. So we know, and I know they didn't have that anymore. So we got to address that where the kids, because with the police doing such a great job and in the community, the face of the community, the next big department that really talk to the folks is Parks and Rec. And the programming, and we're going to get a little bit into it, is not sufficient and up to date when you look at this community. So those two positions, what are they, and what are they going to be focusing on? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You want to talk?
Yeah, just while you're on parks,
Yeah.
we brought this up last year and it didn't come up again. And there was also need, I had spoken to Mr. Corker in the past about a park ranger and the need of a person who goes around to the different parks and makes sure the parks are open on time, closed on time. Several of our parks are now locked at night to prevent crime and all sorts of things. But there was a need for a park ranger. Have we thought about that, or is there someone like that in this classification? And maybe
234.
Mr. Corker, if he's here, could address it.
Let me, I'm gonna start with Mr. Councilman DeSome's request. Councilman, the supervisor and the assistant supervisor were two positions that were previously in the Parks Department. This isn't on the recreation side. This is on the
On
park
the park
side.
side.
Currently, right now, and I know you did mention the superintendent, in our conversations that we had during the budget, we look, as we continue to build back up the department from the budget cuts back in 2010, this is our first step, and we depend on having a superintendent next year in the budget. I know we mentioned that to you during our
Yes, sir.
discussions. These two individuals will be responsible for all park services. Currently, right now, there are coordinators there. They're ultimately not responsible. They report to the director and the assistant director. This will put someone in place that is ultimately responsible, and they will report to the director.
Oh,
So this will clear up, and this helps with making sure our parks are open in time, make sure the parks are clean, the grass is cut, and this also helps with the maintenance at the facilities and everything. So it'll have somebody mainly in charge of that.
So we can't do that this year.
That's gonna be done. That's being done with these two positions right now.
The superintendent?
The supervisors,
Oh, the
Yes.
supervisor, not the
not
superintendent?
the superintendent. We plan on having the superintendent in for next fiscal, not the next budget cycle.
next year.
A
What we
quick
could-
question. Oh, can I?
I gotta
if you
reclaim
allow
my
me,
time.
Not just about that.
I'm messing with
That
you guys.
Park and Rec, and I realize this year, I said I reserve my comments for next.
But you're on
for
my
the
time.
next, no, I understand that. Thank you very much. I realize that you guys are creating more position in Park and Rec instead of having more service to the residents, like as far as activities. In some park, you add another employee when there is no, you don't have any additional activities for the residents. We spend most of our money in paying employees than putting activities for our youth and the residents to get to.
May I?
Mhm.
So one of those, some of those ads are to make our park programming operation more efficient and better. Even with Council DeSume's comments regarding the budget about having things and programming more focused to the residents, our plan is to work. We put on, after school program. We do summer camp. We do the Halloween activities. A lot of events. So what I'm trying to do is work with the staff to, without necessarily additional money, kind of refocus some of the programming to that. One of the things I know one of these positions is about having more sports activities at the center.
Yes.
Schedules. So that is focused towards resident services and programming.
Sometimes
So-
you go to a park, you have 15 employees, and you have 10 residents for service. Like you have more employees.
And so we
than
need to get more
activity than
more
service for
organized
everybody.
activities happening in those situations. That we'll work operationally to do that.
Okay, now I gotta reclaim my time.
Okay.
I'm messing. Staying with Parks and Rec, that issue that Councilman Bienemy brought is very, and it's one that you and I authored this afternoon, Mr. Manager. We had this issue when we were in there with Terry. The programming is one thing, but I did ask about the Judson, the rec at the Judson, but it needs to be somebody from the city. I mean, as long as we could try, because Parks and Rec used to be folks who lives here in North Miami. And at least when you walk there, there's a sense, they're giving attention to the kids, or they really care about the community. So that's one of the things that I needed to address. Pepper Park, the bathroom, the renovation, that right there, we got to address that. Terry, in the memo.
You gotta tear that whole building
Yes,
down, honestly.
I know, but we don't have no money, so we trying.
How
The
much money
renovation.
to do
Should I
that?
say?
Yeah, how much money to do that? And you're not even lobbying for nothing, Arthur.
That's him. He's still
Yeah,
busy.
and not only, he used to work there, and he lives in the area, he don't care,
I used to work in that building.
There you go, I did too, him and I, we used to work on there.
That was a rundown old building in
It's still the same.
1985.
Arthur, what year we used to work at the park? It must have been
Which building are you referring to?
Pepper
Which,
Park,
oh, Pepper
the
Park?
little bit, the up and down,
The concessions, yeah.
90s, 90 something, 96, 97.
I worked there so long ago. I worked with Duke's dad.
Oh my God. You know, with Mr. Brown, you know, walking, but you know, so I know we talked about the bond, Mr. Mayor, there might be some opportunities there.
Might
but
be.
yeah, there might be. I'm
There
not.
shall be.
No, well, I'm not 100% there yet, so there might be.
No,
I'm
but
just saying.
there shall be. There
Well,
will be.
oh, hopefully. Well,
Yeah,
hopefully.
of course.
Let's say hopefully. But we cannot wait for that.
It's
Something
for-
has to be done
That's what it's for.
with the
It's for
with the
infrastructure.
renovation. Yeah, that's something that we got to do at least with that. So with page 90 also, so we somebody said the supplement that I received for the playground, to address that, to be fair, it's been talked about a couple years prior, so that's that. So the renovation is one thing. The other thing, I know you guys, my biggest issue is recreation, and Mr. Manager, please see what can be done there. I don't mind, and please address Judson Center for me, please. Page 314 and 316. And that's, again, that's the, all right. Again, summer camp. I see 6,000 for one area and 3,000 for my area. So I need to get an answer, why is that the discrepancy? And also why we did not, this is 2 years going in a row, where this year, it was pretty well, we had the free camp for the community. We had 30 kids. In fact, some folks from Councilman area was calling last minute, and thank you to Derek, we were able to get them in there at Judson. I was a little bit discouraged. I did not see that in this budget, so it needs to be reflected in that free camp that we have. And also, Mr. Manager, why is the big discrepancy with the field trips?
You're talking about account 391?
391, account 391.
It's on page 314.
Yes, sir.
That's the same funding every year, so
Mhm.
what's the bottom line for the account is 10,900.
Okay. Now, we need to change that where it's equal access everywhere, because the way it's looking is like certain section get more field trip than the others, just looking in. And I know you mentioned that to me, so please make sure that we change it where if it's just field trip, it's field trip. But if it's attached to somewhere, let's just make sure that it's even. Also, you're gonna address, Mr. Sorry, the Judson camp, summer camp?
The free camp will be reflected by the next meeting, sir.
Okay, that'll be in there. And that takes page 316. We did talk about the rec 1 or 2, whichever, that's Judson. That's already been done. I totally support Councilwoman Key's request, and you know, I do think that with our thing, and Mr. Mayor, we got to do something. If we're doing Mardi Gras, it's after February. If we could do it in March or something.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't, because
Uh,
traditionally you have to do it before Lent.
Yeah, but I don't want to do it in the same weekend as our big event that we've been doing for years. That's my only problem. So we're gonna have to do something. We got Black History, and so I mean, last year we did it where? I don't think people really care when we do it. We just want
You can do it at the beginning. You
yeah,
can do
or
it beginning
or
of
they can do it
February.
in May, or just
No,
do it
beginning of February.
Yeah, that's
It
fine.
doesn't have to-
February is good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Anytime in February, as long as it's the last weekend, we good.
That's fine.
Okay, good. Okay, 344 supplemental. Okay, well, which Councilwoman, we got some of these things clarified. My concern, the chamber came, it was 50, I was okay. I see 75. I've been a member. I need to be a little bit active. The only thing that I did, spoke to the chamber folks. We got it, some of the same thing that Councilman Galvin has. I don't have reservation. I'm fine, but we got to have a plan in place where we serve all the cities. Because totally the west side, there has to be some outreach to the businesses. And on that note, I went out to a business meeting, and they threw me out. Not about the chamber, about our city, that economic development and CPND, the outreach is not there. And I told them that we will definitely be address that somehow to make sure that they don't feel left out. So I don't have any concern. I know your team, Mr. Manager, and the folks will do what needs to be done, and I just hope that we get the best from the chamber moving forward. So that was my little thing with the supplement. Page 398, we talked about. And I am skipping some of the departments because we met about them, Mr. Manager, so it's okay. 398, we mentioned 398, but also, I guess this won't be under 398 city year. We got to address the truancy at North Miami Senior High School, and I did propose for CREM services, the leadership, that truancy number should be alarming to all of us elected officials here on this dais. No, it's not here. It's just something that we talked about. The truancy level at North Miami Senior. These kids are not graduating. There's issues, and of course, we are not a body who oversees the school system. But if we are addressing, I don't have any problem with Mardi Gras, with the Brew Fest, with anything, but we got to make sure we take care of education of home, and that's all I care about. So, Mr. Manager, by the next meeting, please make sure we address the truancy at North Miami Senior. And I know City Year came, a very reputable organization, came and met with you. Almost done, Mr. Mayor. 448. Again, this goes to this, Terry. When we look at, I do have a concern, but it's not really a big concern. From the past year, we've just been going a trajectory of going up with our budget, Mr. Manager. And I do understand the eloquent map or draft that the city staff or personnel still stay the same. However, it really don't. It's really if you really want to be out of that 441, the operation, which we don't want to go into details of operation, what operation actually goes. We can't really talk about the. I'm on 448, but 440. What I kind of, because it's a parallel between this and what I'm about to say. 448 is about the streets. That's public works. Okay. So maybe let me finish with that, and then I'll get into that so that we don't create the confusion. I would like to see more, because I know we got some streets here. When you look at this, this is why I was mentioning this. This is 25% of our entire. The operation represent 25% of the new revenue. So if you're talking about services to the community, that's what it is, because the rest is COLA, health, and that's our stuff, internal stuff, which I don't have any problem with. But again, we got to try to do more for the circle, the middle of the circle, the traffic circle. We got an email that's been going back for Councilman Galvin that we got to address from our friend, one of your friend, and this was way before, but we had told the year we got to address that in this year. What's her name, Mr. Sorry, Virginia. You know, Virginia. Traffic circle. He knows. Yeah, it's apparently it's for years. We had approved because she sent us the email and I forwarded to them. We said so we got to address that for this year. And I talked to Whistler about the roadways and all that good stuff. Those are things that I would be happy if I saw them a little bit more. That's the Publix, that's the street, and all these different things. Lastly, the 450, page 458, 448, and 451, which talks about the right of way. I would like to see something different. If possible, but if not, Mr. Manager, I'm willing to be okay with that.
When you say some, well, remember the source of these are, this is half-cent sales tax,
I know.
surtax.
I-
So,
But on our side,
Okay.
okay, for example, the supplement, okay, it's under transportation, but going to Public Works. I know we could supplement or whatever that needs to be done for street repavement, sidewalks. We got a lot of these things in our city. When we look at it, it's only $1 million, and then when we budget in, that's throughout the entire city. So whatever we could do there,
well, let me make one clarification.
Yes.
Citywide,
mm-hmm,
we have, and it was in the presentation, we have about just under $2 million
1.997.
1.997, yes.
for citywide streets resurfacing and traffic calming. That's all street-related work.
Yes.
One of the things that we discuss, and again, this is us appropriating the sources of funds that we get from intergovernmental sources to fund our street projects. If you guys recall, we did the EBS study, which is the citywide streets evaluation, and what we wanted to do is come up with a targeted plan, starting with that, to go from the worst streets, sidewalks, swales, in each district. However, but utilizing the funds that we're getting from these sources to be able to support that. The other thing, and you guys mentioned it earlier, was the possibility of the inclusion of that in the infrastructure portion of a bond issuance. But these are the sources. If you want us to look at adding or supplementing
I would
some general
love
fund
to, Mr. Manager.
sources, it's just, it's such a
Because-
huge need.
I know it is.
My professional advice would be for us to develop a capital campaign specifically for streets and sidewalks.
Okay, no, okay. This is what I'm saying to you, Mr. Manager. When I looked at this and I look at 56% going to personnel, and you look at 1% going to capital outlay, what I'm saying to you, if we find a little bit more, and I'm not even giving you an amount, and I can, to put towards that. I know we're gonna address all that later, but when I asked Mr. Pierre Lewis how much it is to get one of the streets from, it's 90,000 and we don't have it, and then we just have a $70 million budget for general fund. That's what I'm talking about, Mr. Manager.
I got it.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
and I would like to clarify one thing
Yes, sir.
with regards to the 56%. The 56% personnel cost as a percentage of our general fund budget is an amazing metric. Most municipalities around this country run at about 75% personnel costs. So we are, as a city, we are hitting
But,
it.
Mr.
I get
Ma-
your point.
No,
I'm
no,
not
but
arguing.
but to on the correct thing, I don't think that's 70%. Is that including the other funds that when we get from the enterprise that's added to that?
No,
No,
Of
it's
course.
just general fund.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm not worrying about their general funds. We probably up in the 70s also.
No, we're
Wait.
56%.
No, but when you added the other funds from, if you were to combine enterprise and everything, what would be the percentage?
Right. We'd actually go down.
It would go down?
Yes.
Well, then thank God. So then the services then should be going up. The services should be going up, and that's what I'm talking about. And
No, I get your point, and
you
we'll,
get it.
and we will look
As long,
to add
yeah,
some
address
additional
that.
dollars.
We do have a 4.1 million that was increased, and my whole thing is that increase does not, when I look at it, it's more of us. When I say us, that's including us, and I don't think that the raise for the council, that's really a raise since 205, but it's okay for the amount of work that, no, I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there, and I'm more than welcome to have that debate with anyone. Yeah, no, I know there isn't, but I'm just saying, so when I talked about us versus the public, those are the type of projects that I like to see. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Councilman. Few comments that I have. I guess the first would be mayor and council office. I've always voiced to you, Mr. Manager, that I believe that our office is deficient. Not in the performance of the staff, but I truly believe for us to be more productive as a mayor and council's office, it has to resemble that of the city manager's office. If you go upstairs for every single part of service, there is someone, a representative of that service. You have the 2 PIOs, and you have about, what, 4 or 5 staff? 6? And I guess CRA is almost part of the, CRA is kind of part of the manager's office as well. But no, I mean, I think the city council's office needs to be more staffed. Every council person should have their own individual, no, you don't. You have 2 for the 4 of you.
No, I have.
It's only 2.
About the-
No.
Every single council person has their own individual representative except for
No.
one council person.
No, we have only 3 here for 5. I'm about constituent coordinators. Okay? Well,
aides,
constituent coordinators,
coordinators,
no, it's totally different. That's my recommend. That's my 2 cents of it. I think District 1, 2, 3, each council person should have their own constituent coordinator, not constituent aides, coordinator.
So two
Yeah.
staff members per council person.
No, 1.
We've already
2.
got
We
one.
got, one.
There's
Well,
already constituent aide for each one of the council.
well, to be honest with you, I don't know what the constituent aides do.
Oh, I know what mine is.
Well, I know
Wait
what
a
they
minute.
used to do.
Wait,
I
wait,
know
wait a
what they're
minute.
supposed to do.
No, wait, Mr. Mayor.
No, but you were speaking. You took about 20 minutes, and I let you
No,
speak.
I know, but when
But
you say
let me make my statement.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't even going through that. My point was, I believe that every single council person should have their individual constituent coordinator to better coordinate their problems, their concern of their respective constituents. That's what I would like to see. And that's the only thing for council for mayor and council's office. Second one, I'll make it quick. I don't have too many points to make. Police department, I see that there are major changes being done. Getting rid of 2 police chiefs, 2 assistant police chief position, and I don't know if we used to have a deputy police chief in the department, and we do know that at this time we have an interim police chief. This is a department that is going through some changes, and I think it's a little bit kind of premature to make that change without knowing what's going to happen in the next weeks to come. We have an increase of about more than $500,000 in their budget from 26.6. Well, actually, the amended one was 25.8. Now it's up to 27. So I think this needs to be better looked at, better analyzed before we actually jump to the major change that is being made in the police department. Little food for thoughts. And Public Works has a budget of $4.8 million. Out of that, $2.9 million is going toward administration. Okay? $4.8 million. And 2.9 is going to administration.
What page are you on, sir?
193. 193. 2.9 is going to administration. I guess it mirrors what the councilman was trying to say here. We have to try to reduce administrative costs and put the money to services that go directly to the constituents.
But Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, if you want to redirect money to services and the constituents,
Yes.
why would we need to be hiring more staff for the mayor and council?
No, but when you do a redistribution of goods, some of it will get more and some will get less. It's called redistribution. Redistribution.
I just respectfully disagree that
When you-
the council needs more staff.
Yeah. Okay, it's redistribution. It's only two more. It's only two more that I'm asking for. Two more. That's all.
Well,
And
no, then I'm unclear. It sounded like you said that each council person should have a constituent
coordinator.
coordinator.
Yeah.
There's already, you've already got at least 2 staff members of your own.
I only have one.
Okay, then let me jump in here and say to the staff. No, no,
Hmm?
Of that 2.9, sir, 2.2 of that is sanitation services, which is outsourced.
we've already switched the page while you guys
Yeah,
were talking.
yeah, you're on
We're
something
now
else.
talking about mayor council staff. I would like to see a staff chart that shows which council people have which staff allotments, and by name, who fills those positions. So if there's a constituent service aide for District 2, District 1, District 3, list that person. I just said to the mayor, he has at least 2 people. He says he only has 1. I've always been under the understanding he had 2. I've always been under the understanding of late that each of the council members
Have
has
one.
their own constituent services aide, except for 1 council person.
So who does your stuff?
Me, I do my own stuff. I wrote my own emails. I answer my own emails.
I do that too.
I do my own.
So
phone
what about
calls.
the people at Senate Court when they come to me? So I'll send them to you.
You send them to me. If you want me to send you all to District 4, get
No. Well, send
Alright,
them.
guys.
Get
Okay,
No,
ready, get
guys.
send them
ready,
my
get
way.
ready.
Send them my way.
Okay,
You know,
guys.
Scott, I'm good on
It's
email. Send
almost
them my
8
way.
o'clock. Let me finish
Send
with
it
my
my way.
point.
No, but here's the thing. If we're
Yeah.
talking about redirecting more money to our residents, why would we be talking about hiring more staff for count? There's only, when I got on this council, I know I'm an old man and it's hard to hear the old man talk about the good old days, but when I got on this council, the 4 council members shared 2 desks, and there was no staff.
That was
except
20
one
years
seven-
ago.
That was 20 years ago. But do you mean to tell me that
Hello.
the volume, do you mean to tell me that the volume of constituent services increased to the point where we now each need to have 2
Well, to
council
make, to,
2 staff members?
and make
Yeah,
them.
they have.
Wow.
They have because
Okay.
I'm not
I-
saying
I-
anyway.
Okay,
I'm not
can
saying that
can
either.
I
guys,
stand down,
as you
I
guys, as you
stand
guys can
down,
see,
I
when you
stand
guys are talking,
I
I just
stand
stay
down.
quiet. I don't say
Here
anything.
we go.
And
Then here we
make
go.
it-
I stand down. From here forward, residents of the city of North Miami, I am going to direct every single constituent
Please do so.
inquiry that I get that's not in District 1 to the rest of
Appropriate.
you so
Yes.
that you can handle it. And Mr. Manager, when you come back with a budget allocation next 2 weeks, do not allocate for me a constituent coordinator or service person, because I don't have one now, I don't need one later, and I'm going to continue to firsthand address each one of your issues. But you're all about to get a bunch of stuff from your own districts, and you don't have any idea of what's going on out there.
Oh,
Get
well,
ready.
first of all, let me say this on the flip side, Councilman, it goes the same way because I am being called at Senate Court, folks who doesn't speak English, who speak Spanish, I'm taking.
Give
so-
me
No, I
everything in
am,
District
no,
1.
I am, but it's not
Everything in
because
District 1.
we're here to serve, first of all.
When I hand off my District 2,
That's
3, and
fine.
4 to the rest of you, you're going to
Listen.
see that the little bit you'll give me back on District 1 will
That,
pale in
which
comparison.
which is fine, but we are here as elected official for all of the residents, regardless where they come from, because I do understand they are from Sixth Avenue North, all those apartments when we have these different things, and sometimes I turn people away. I say, you're not in my district, but I stopped doing that because I know the needs are out there now, because there's a whole bunch of people, and this is why. And I'm not saying that we need a coordinator, because we got issues with dealing with what we have now. And I think what we have now, we have 2 folks who deals with with the 4 of us. So I think, I don't have no
I
concern
don't
with
have-
that there.
Honestly, I don't have anybody that deals with me. That's the thing. That's what you guys aren't
That's
getting.
fine.
I'm not going to call out any staff members' names.
Guys,
but
we're not
bring
we're
back-
not even to
bring
the
back-
point
but-
of even
but
voting.
But please, right
Like we said, I
we're
mean,
voting tonight on this budget.
no, but we're not voting on any issue. Remember, for
We're voting
any,
on every-
remember
that's-
for
that's where
anything that we just said earlier. Even
that's-
anything that we, first of all, this one takes 2 readings for it to be in effect, and second of all, every single item takes, most of them take a specific resolution for it to pass.
Allow me to educate
Okay.
you, Mr. Mayor. This budget needs to be approved by vote tonight. Everything that's in this budget has to be approved by us by vote.
Yes.
It is not a punt to the next game and then we pick it up 2 weeks from now. There's a first reading that has to be passed, and there's a second reading that has to be passed. If it doesn't pass on first reading, we're gonna be here a long
It's not
time
gonna
tonight.
pass with the, it's not gonna pass tonight with the recommendations that we are making.
They can come back
I
with
think
adjustments, but it
just
still
like-
has to pass. So
Yeah,
it's
but
not fair to say to the public,
Council-
we're not voting on
Councilman,
anything,
I
because
think,
we're voting on
I
everything.
think just like for the past, I think, almost 2 hours now, I allow every single council person
And I
to
listen,
go,
but
please,
now when you start
Vice Mayor,
talking-
Vice
when you
Mayor,
start talking
you
about
are really,
Councilman-
you are really disturbing the order of this meeting. Like I said, I allow every single.
You don't
I mean,
allow
but you are
anything. It
being-
is not
you-
yours to allow, King. It is the
You see,
people's
now you
meeting.
are being very disrespectful at this time, and we
Then
some
change your terminology and
you are
don't
being
talk about us you allowing us. As
every
we're
single
allowed to
person.
talk with you.
Now you are not allowing me to speak. You're not allowing me what I've allowed people to do. I have allowed every single person to speak from page whatever. How long did you just take to speak? 20. Did I stop you from talking? Councilwoman, how long did you take to speak?
I don't know.
Did you go from department to department and then you said everything you had to say?
No, because people did
But
say,
and we're gonna go back to you if you want to speak more.
well, I would like to speak on the constituent services.
Can I
which
finish my first?
I will be happy to let you.
Yes. As simple as that.
That's okay.
Who had
Okay.
the under 1 hour bets tonight?
Okay, now on page 234, I believe it's Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec. I think someone mentioned about the Parks Superintendent and Recreation Superintendent. I'm not sure what was said. And now it says that the positions are 0. So we don't have anybody filling those positions.
We were speaking of, previous years, we did have a park superintendent. We did, Councilman DeSomé question what the new 2 park supervisors' jobs were. And then we did go over the 2 new park supervisors and did tell them that we've had conversations. We look to move to a park recreation superintendent next fiscal year. That was the conversation, sir.
Okay, and also in the bottom, the line before last, it says general maintenance worker 2 removed. And I was just wondering what kind of duties that they had, and was it because they were superfluous type of positions you deemed that they were not necessary?
They are, general maintenance workers are just the people on the ground outside, weeding the grass, picking up stuff. Those are the positions.
Okay,
Yes, that's what those positions are, sir.
that's really much it, okay. Next, housing rehab. That would be transportation. Again, goes back to street. For transportation, half-cent surtax, we have a budget of 3.846, 3,846,000. And of course, this is a comprehensive out of this 3.8, I believe we said only less than 2 millions are going toward repairing streets and so forth. And as you guys know, it's no secret that I would like to see more money being allocated for street repair. So less than $2 million for streets, and that's not just for streets, that's for runabouts, traffic calming and so forth. So we have to find a way to see if we can get more money. I don't know where we're gonna get them from, but we have to go and roll over some of the rocks or the tombstones and whatever to see, because the way our streets are, there is no way that we can go on every single budget year to allocate only $2 million. That way we're never gonna get anywhere on a city that is over 90 years old. So the streets need to be repaired, and we have to prioritize. And on page 448, which Councilman I think talked about, he talks about this downtown revitalization and beautification project. It's 960,000. Mentions major corridors with trees, street furniture, and on this dais we've talked many times about some bus shelters that were supposed to be purchased years ago, over 2 years ago. Councilwoman have talked about it before, and I've talked about the need for us to get some bus shelters. Especially during this rainy season, believe me, I've seen people standing in those bus stops. They don't look good. I mean, 12th Avenue, it's 12 or 14. 12th Avenue, for example, there is a bus line there, and 6th Avenue, and if we can try our best to get some bus shelters, some bus stops, shelters, I would really, really appreciate it. Okay, and I see for bicycle-oriented roadway improvement, we only allocated $50,000. $50,000. And this is an era where bicycle, to make what we call a complete street programs, there is no way you can allocate $50,000 citywide. This is citywide. This city is 9.8 square miles. 9.8 square miles. To allocate $50,000 for bicycle road improvement, it simply does not jive. Not in 2017. Everywhere, that's the end thing now. That's what people are doing. We are trying to encourage people to ride bicycle, to try to decrease our carbon footprint, decrease, car driving and so forth. We got to do a lot better than that there. And that's, I guess, on the second reading, I will come with more points for us to consider before we go ahead with our budget for the year 2018. Councilwoman, you may speak now, please.
We were talking about constituent service aids. I didn't mean to be argumentative with Councilman Galvin, but I see constituent services, I see the council doing so much more than they did 20 years ago. Whether it's good or bad, we have more events going on in this city by the various council people that we didn't used to have. Some people complain we have too many, but then again, it is services for the residents. 20 years ago, we didn't have email. Right now,
Yeah, we did actually. That's why I have my own independent email address,
Well,
because
I
I
had-
had it before City Hall had it. So let's not go into
You-
what we were doing 20 years
Okay,
ago,
but
because
the-
the same exact effort that I give today, I gave on the first day, the 200th day, and the 20th year. So please, I will not take a lecture from anybody
I'm
about
not-
constituent services
not
and
lecturing, I'm
the
just
amount
saying-
of effort that's given to this community by me. Don't go there. Don't go there.
I'm just saying, you had email, but the rest of the council up here, when I used to try to get in touch with people, there were no emails, there was no Facebook, there was no texting, and
I'm
And
still
I answer-
answering all my
I answer-
Facebook, Instagram, Twitters, emails, letters, phone calls, all by myself. I suggest the rest of the council members try it for a little while before they just say bring on more staff people.
well, if you let me finish, number one, I answer all my emails and texts and messages, and they all get jumbled, and Facebook. Nobody answers my emails, calls, texts. That being said, I do not need another constituent services aide. I think we have 2 people in the office that are doing a great job organizing our events. I have my own constituent services aide who works about 10 hours a week, and she's very helpful for personal organizing certain things. So my opinion is we do not need, or I do not need, another aide on top of my part-time constituent services aide. I do stay pretty busy. I agree with the mayor on his street improvements. Anything we can put into the streets.
That's
Boy,
what I'm
we've got
saying.
streets that are just
That's what I'm
so
saying.
not paved in my district. And lastly, with traffic circles,
Oh, okay.
Councilman Desulme, if you count the traffic circles in your district
I know.
and count the traffic circles in Councilman Bienme's
I
district.
agree. It's
And
just
I
one.
think, and I think Councilman Galvin and I share one circle.
Oh my God, that's not good.
We have no circles, and
No.
we're looking for some traffic circles in
No,
there.
you could have them. It's just one that was promised before I got there, and they told the constituent, and she sent us the email with the confirmation that we
So
said the money is there. It never
we have
happened.
we have some serious needs in District 1 and 2. We don't have circles. We've gone, well, never mind. I'm just saying, we really need some traffic circles in District 2, and I'm not sure what Councilman Galvin needs in his district with regard to circles. Thank you.
All right. Any more comments?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, on the constituent aid, first and foremost, I could only speak for myself and the work that I do here since I've been on this council. There is second to none when it comes to outreach, and I cannot do it alone. I do have one person, and my district, the demographic is so different than any other district. First of all, these people don't speak English. They do not have emails. Phone I have to get a part-time person that's already in parks to help me out with the Spanish speaking. There's almost 25% of my district who speak Spanish. And these are folks who does not come to City Hall. We gotta go to them. And there is not a time of the day where I'm not out knocking on doors, talking to them, making sure there are issues that needs to be addressed by city staff and my constituent aid do the email, the follow-ups, what needs to be done. In addition to me answering Facebook, Instagram, I got one thing on Instagram, emails, and there is not a director in this, including the manager or the deputy administration, who could say they sent me an email, it's been over the 48 hours, unless you know there's an emergency. It just does not happen in District 4 since I've been there. But on top of that, every day, and administration knows, because I text them, I call them, because these are not folks who will call City Hall, who understand the process, who could just get on their email and send an email to a director. I'm their mouth. This is it. What you see here, and when Judy Brown, you may have Judy and maybe one or two homeowners here, but I serve over 20-something thousand people, and I have to speak for every single one of them. And there's not enough day, Mr. Manager, and I think you guys know this. I'm here almost 4 days a week. Yeah, Roland does, my constituent, it does some. And some hours during the storm, we were out there every night giving out food, cooking, do whatever that needs to be done. So yeah, I do need help. Now, as far as the coordinator, I think we have two folks in the office who works with the three of us, I would say. I don't know if Councilman Galvin, but I do know the two constituent coordinator. I need just better coordination among those two, and I'm fine. So as far as that's my just little point on that particular point. Thank you.
All right. If we don't have any more discussions, so
Not any more discussion, just recap what I said, and before Mr. Manager is to find a way to fund another Assistant Chief of Police in the budget, and everybody said they need more infrastructure done in the city, and while you're gonna check and see where what can we change, make sure we don't anticipate on any revenue from the city, any increase of projection of revenue from the city to balance the budget if you're gonna try to increase whatever everybody said.
all right. Do we do reports tonight? Reports
No
from
reports.
different? No. Okay, this is just budget.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Mayor, may I have a motion to approve tab B?
I move.
Second.
I have a motion made by Mayor Joseph to approve tab B. That motion was seconded by Councilman Desirme. Councilwoman Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme?
Yes.
Councilman Zume?
Yes.
Do I have to reread? Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Galvin?
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote.
Now with the.
Thank you.
This is it?
Yes.
There is no.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
All right.
The work's
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.
We did 2 hours.
Not too bad.
Not bad.
Trust me, it used to be like 6 and 7.